Hello, leaders. Hey, this is Paul Grau, and welcome to Run to Your Leadership Challenges, the daily show that equips leaders and entrepreneurs to achieve their greatest potential. This show is sponsored by Current Leadership Coaching, and they help entrepreneurs excel as leaders so they can create super teams. Find out more about them at currentleadershipcoaching.com. Hey, hope you're doing great today and are ready to talk more about change. So I want to pick up just right where we left off yesterday, because the challenge I gave you was to identify who on your team will embrace change as something good and who on your team will not be happy with change. Now, this is a critical step because once you identify your team members who aren't excited about change, you can begin to warm them up for the change that is coming. And to be honest, the more time that you have to give them to think about and accept the change, the better. As I stated yesterday, about 15% or so of your team members will actually love change and be excited about the opportunity to change. They don't even need to know why you're changing. Just a simple hint of a change, and they're excited and ready to get it done. Now, it's the other 85% of your team members who you really need to focus your leadership abilities on while preparing for change. Now, the great thing is about 20% of these team members who aren't really jazzed up for the change will actually be interested in ensuring that you're doing everything the right way. They're going to want to know all the details of the change, and they will think through the change process from start to finish. And there's a good chance that they'll identify challenging areas of the process prior to even rolling the change out. This is why it's very important to make sure some of these team members are on your change team that will be rolling out the process as you implement the change. They are going to make sure everything is done properly, and if an issue does surprise your team, they're going to be the ones who figure out the fix. So that leaves us with the remaining 65% or so of your team who are not excited about the change and really just don't like change. However, the great thing about these team members is that they will totally be on board once they are told about how the benefits of the change outweigh the risks of the change, and especially the benefits to the team as a whole. That's what you got to make sure they know about. For this group, you need to start prepping them and warming them up to the idea of the change as soon as you know that the change is probably going to happen. And better than that, if you even hear about an upcoming change, you would be wise to make them aware of the possible changes that may be heading your way. Preparedness is the key here. The more educated and prepared these team members are, the more accepting that they'll be when the change arrives. And let's face it, you can't survive with 65% of your team bailing out when the change hits. And also, remember what I stated yesterday. The most important thing to remember with change is that you, as the leader, must embrace the change and sell it to your people in a way that puts them at ease. And you need to continue to sell it throughout the entire change process. If you are prepping for a change and you're complaining and not in support of the change, man, your team members will pick up on your attitude and they're not going to be in favor of the change, especially the 85% of the team members who don't like change to begin with. You can see that if 85% of your team doesn't support the change, well, it's just not going to be a successful change at all. So I'm going to stop right there today, but not without a challenge. Today, I want you to think about a successful change that you've recently experienced and a not so successful change that you've had to go through recently. Now, in our ever-changing society, especially over the last 6 months, man, I know that you can think of all kinds of successful and unsuccessful changes. Once you identify a change, try to identify if any of the info that I just gave you today had anything to do with the success or failure of the change. Most change that fails or is unsuccessful with the majority of the team is because it wasn't explained properly, it wasn't sold properly, the team members just didn't have any buy-in, or people didn't support the change because the leader didn't support the change either. Hey, I want to remind you about the big announcement I made yesterday. We will be launching a leadership membership site on October 1st. That will be a community of leaders and entrepreneurial leaders that want to learn and grow with each other. This membership site is going to include lessons plus live Q&A calls, and it will include a community group where everybody can network with everybody else that's in the group with one main goal, and that's to grow your leadership. Hey, if you're interested in becoming a founding member of this membership group, please email me at Paul, that's Paul, at clcteam.com for more information and to get on our wait list. As founding members, you're going to be able to join at the lowest possible price ever and have access to things that only founding members will have access to. As always, we greatly appreciate you for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges.